here 3 weeks, just ready for that first game of the year.
Yeah, true mock game week this week, and I think so. We're mimicking everything that we'll do next week, and obviously this Saturday, get into a mock situational game. That way we can be on the same sideline. We can practice all of our game day operations, getting the special teams out, the call outs, and all that takes time and organization. So just to get everybody on the same page throughout this week, and that way we can hit it with gas next week. And so obviously, it's something that we're trying to practice outside for these next couple of weeks just to get prepared for the heat. And obviously, I think that's somewhere where I think Tulsa has an advantage. We have an indoor here, and they've been practicing outside, and so we got to make sure that we're ready to go out there and face all the elements. And none of that stuff will ever be an excuse for me. I'm never going to make an excuse in anything we do. We got to know what's coming, prepare the kids for it, and go out there and execute at a high level.
In your mock, do you do game uniforms and warm-ups and go through the whole thing?
Yeah, and it's a little bit like our kids don't love it just because it seems so long, right? And the anxiety starts to build up. But I think anxiety is good because there is going to be anxiety in that first game. And, I think it's probably more of a question for a nutritionist or a scientist, but we've had cramps the first game every year I've played, and sometimes it hasn't even been that hot. And I think that's due to the kids working themselves out. So we like to put them through the waiting period of what's going on, truly come out as a team, do all of our stretch, our pregame routine, and then we put everybody on the sideline and then can actually practice the situational stuff that naturally comes up in games. We'll put our coaches in the box, be responsible for certain things coming in and out. And then too, I think we haven't been on the sideline. iPads are such a huge deal now, the technology and being able to relay information because you have instant access to that. And so having our coaches actually sit down and go over how they're going to sit down, how they're going to present the material to our players. So just a lot of little things that I think that, we need to be really detailed and addressed.
While we're on this is way ahead, but night before games, the tradition was movies. How do you treat the night before game with your team, either here or on the road?
Yeah, we'll do the same everywhere we go. And so we'll have meetings. We'll have chapel for the kids that want to go to chapel. We'll have walkthroughs. We'll have dinner together. And so we've kind of gotten to where we give them a little bit more time and to rest in the thing. We have study hall for kids that haven't completed their schoolwork for that week, and if they have, they don't have to have study hall. But yeah, I think the movies, a couple years ago now, movies have just gotten worse and worse as time's gone on, and so I think most of our kids were sleeping during the movies, and I didn't think they were any good either. And so I enjoyed it, but that was kind of back in the day when I thought movies were a little bit better.
What kind of movies do you like? What are you looking for?
Everything besides horror movies. Yeah, I mean, I like a good comedy. I'm okay with a romantic movie. I mean, all those different things. I'm not big on scary movies. So.
How did the scrimmage go on Saturday?
Yeah, I thought it was good. Got out, with hardly any injuries, a couple of little bumps and bruises here and there, which is your goal in that last scrimmage. I think we kind of know where we're at, and right now, a bunch of position battles are who's going to be backups for us right now. I think for the majority, we know who our starters are on both sides, and there's going to be some positions where we're okay with putting a guy on a rotation. Like our defensive ends are really, really deep right now. So those guys, it doesn't matter who goes out there first because we don't think there's a big drop off. Like we'll keep those guys fresh and keep them rolling. So, didn't really tackle much with our ones, and I think I've seen Caleb Hawkins get tackled enough. I've seen Miles and Wyatt and Bowick and Chris Barnes, all those get tackled enough. So a little bit of thud with those guys, and then for some of those guys that are competing for jobs right now, still got into some live football, some good 2-minute, 4-minute situation. And anytime you do those in live situations, there's just great teaching that happens, and so a great chance for us to come back this week and really study that and teach off of it.
Coach, what have you seen out of Evan Jackson throughout fall camp?
Yeah, Evan knows this. Like, Evan's high moments are super high. I've been with him for 3 years. He's played a ton of football with us. Super athletic, rangy. Can play some man coverage. So he can do all the things we're asking him to do. Like the consistency factor of it. I think he's a kid that his highs have been really high and his lows have been really low. And so, he's someone that I thought scrimmaged really good this past scrimmage. And for him, he knows the defense. He communicates at a high level. He's able to get us in and out of things. Our safeties are big communicators for us, and so like where he's at right now, he's got to put it all together on an everyday basis.
What have you seen from Billy? You talked about the DN room. What have you seen from Billy Walton this fall?
Yeah, I mean, Billy's a guy I think that can play both sides for us, so I think the versatility of Billy is huge. And there's some guys, Jalil's mainly going to be an end. Malik Charles mainly going to be an end. That's kind of their skill set. And Billy's a guy that we can rotate and flip-flop from end to end rush. And so, and the one thing I've been probably most surprised about Billy is his value on special teams right now. He's a guy that you'll see run out there and play a couple different positions in special teams as a starter for us right now. So I think just anytime you get those big, long, athletic guys that process information fast, Billy fits in that category.
I'm trying to think where you were when he was a senior at SOC, but were you aware of him at South Oak Cliff?
I don't remember recruiting him. No,
Okay.
I don't. I think Bill, the first time we met is when he came here.
What's the first time you remember seeing a rookie South punter?
This is a great story now right here. So this is a true story. So we had a guy from Australia at Incarnate Word my first year, and it was probably our first big win, first conference game on the road, Abilene Christian. So I think we're up 10 or 7. I'd have to go back and check. I'm pretty sure 10, but we're kind of 4 minutes left in the game, and so I call a timeout because they had a really good returner, and I told our punter on the sideline, hey, kick it out of bounds. Like, don't kick it to this returner. The only thing that can kill us in this game right now is a return for a touchdown where we're at. And so you'll have to find this tape. I don't know where it's at, but he literally catches it. He walks straight sideways, minus 14-yard punt, straight into the stands. I swear to anything. And so you can see me on tape. I fell to my knees like, holy smokes. And so I guess there's a rule in rugby, if you punt it out of bounds, like something happens. So I'm not smart enough to know all that stuff. But I had like some of the worst text messages I've ever had in my life, like how dumb of a coach I was, especially from my family that were watching this game live on TV. So I've learned from that you have to explain sometimes. Football rules, pause has been phenomenal. Like, just as good of a camp as a punter I've been around. Really good spirals, really good drop punts. And so I think we can throw an arsenal of different varieties of punts at people.
There was a guy here named Tom Hutton, Australian punter. He had different spins. he could, and Drew Swoboda said this guy's got like a pitcher with 4 or 5 different pitches in his arsenal.
Yeah, I think it's cool to see the creativity come out kind of in a punter's mind and in a special teams coordinator mind. I think watching him execute these things, we did some backed up punt situation stuff, last week at some point, and just to watch the placement that he had on these balls and backed up and how fast he could get them out. Super flexible, he can run right, punt left, he can run left, punt right. All the kind of trick stuff. They call one a boomerang, I think, which spins, when you kick it, the football's oblong, you kick the side of it. So there's some crazy ones that we're going to pull out at some point.
Can you talk about the structure of calling plays from field level and the communication level of talking to the booth, how that works?
Yeah, and I think for me, I'm more of a field play caller. Like, that's just the way I am, and I think that, some people, I like to keep people and defensive coordinators off balance at times. And so we'll do some unorthodox things at times. But I think the iPads have really changed, some of the communication stuff, because you actually get to sit down and you watch it afterwards and you're able to make adjustments off that. And so I think the art of a great guy in the box, which was such a big thing for a long time. Now we still have, a really good box structure up there that are giving me real live information, real time, what's going on. But having the ability to go back and really see what's going on holistically, I think has been a game changer. It allows you to just make more adjustments on the sideline, and then I think start playing chess with the guy over there, knowing what's going on a little bit. And also they have they're seeing it, watching it as well, what we're trying to do schematically. So I think that's changed a little bit in the course of the last couple of years.
Will Brophy be up top?
Brophy will not, no. And I think too, just Brophy does a phenomenal job with the quarterbacks and having that voice right beside them that they're used to in meeting rooms, and then keeping them calm. Like, I like to have high stress during the course of the week with these guys, and then, super calm with the quarterback on game day. And we give them so much freedom checking at the line of scrimmage. Drew, at this point, he kind of knows what's going on. But I think for us right now, Brophy will be Kevin Kilmer, assistant quarterback coach who's been an offensive coordinator a long time at Angelo State, ton of success, will be up top.
You've been an aggressive guy on 4th down. Is that analytics based, or is that sort of field as well?
Yeah, and I think it was something we really studied 2 years ago, because I think we went for it more than anybody in the nation. Now, when you really go back and study it, we weren't very good at it. And so, analytics, we have a book, and it's something, we try to do different things to give us the advantage with the analytics. But I think last year we were really, really good on 4th down as far as conversion rate. but we didn't go for near as many as what we did 2 years ago. Now, partly that was because we were a lot better on third down and just a better football team holistically. And so when you're relying on fourth downs and going that much, I think that's something where I just learned through the fire, like that wasn't a positive thing, right?
How much does Posabon and what he can do affect, if you got a punter that can flip the field or a punter that can maybe force a fumble with a weird kick, does that make you think twice and maybe kicking it?
Yeah, I think so. I think a bunch of things. I think how well your defense is playing, and if you're willing to play a possession game with them and you're getting stops consistently, I think all those things kind of go hand in hand. And I think that'll go hand in hand with how much we use tempo. It'll go hand in hand with how much, we're doing multiple things on offense. And so I think running the football and stopping the run is so valuable to how you call the whole entire game. And so, we'll have meetings on that going into games, with me and Coach Sabota about, that. And then Coach Cassidy, I think, in-game conversations about how he feels about, continuing to stop the opponent.
You mentioned looking at the iPad. What's the balance between looking at that and actually what's happening on the field as a head coach?
Yeah, it's tough. And so I always talk to the officials before, because there is going to be a period where I never go sit down with our players, and if I need a relay, I have a headset, but try to stay available to always be able to call important timeouts, make big decisions on third downs, fourth downs, on what's happening with special teams wise. But I think that's what's so important for me to trust our defensive coordinator and our special teams coordinator, and give them the ability to really think on their own and call this game the way that they see it. We tell the refs before every game, Coach Cassidy has the ability to call timeouts, and so that's something that's probably different than a lot of places where head coach only calls them. And so there's small adjustments that you have to make, but I try to never be sitting down and not available for Coach Cassidy and Sabota.
What do you like with the officials? I mean, are you pretty calm, or how do you try and treat that relationship?
Yeah, I think I've changed over the course of time. I think when I was young and aggressive and probably a little bit more of a hothead, is something I let it get to me, and I was aggressive, and it took me out of thinking about the important things and real life situations that were going on, and because I was spending too much time jawing at them, and really, I never changed the outcome of what happened before that. So I try to save my conversations for dead balls and timeouts, and I try to be a lot more calm and polite now. That's been helpful for me, and I might get a call later down the road a little bit, as opposed to swearing at them and saying things I shouldn't say.
And Sean Torgerson is a guy that we're talking to today. You mentioned last week that he and Lepo are kind of battling it out there at right tackle. How has that gone, and do you have where does it stand right now?
Yeah, no, we're still rolling with them. If we had to play tomorrow, it'd probably be Torgerson right now. And so just one of those cool stories that comes in here and didn't expect much. One of the last guys that we took out of the portal, and just a guy that we kind of noticed in the weight room and his times, in the GPS stuff over the course of summer. I mean, pound for pound, as strong as anybody on our team, super athletic at 300 pounds, smart, processes information really fast. And so see him playing a big role for us, for the next 3 years here.
With Posabon not playing American football before last year, just how well has he meshed with this special teams unit?
Yeah, I mean, he maybe has one of the best personalities on this team. And I think naturally our kids are drawn to, his accent and the way certain things sound when he pronounces things. And so obviously he's got the mustache, he's got the mullet, I mean, he's got the whole persona of just an Australian punter, right? So I think he becomes more and more Americanized every single day. I think he loves Stillwater and he loves the culture over here. And so it's been fun just to watch him kind of grow with the rest of his teammates here.
You mentioned the as many snaps as you guys have on this team. How have you seen that maybe kind of help during fall camp? Just, so many guys that have so much experience playing football.
Yeah, I think it's been really good for us. I think where we need to be smart now, like I need to realize that, understand that, and you don't have to, once our guys get it, we don't have to practice as much, I don't think, as you get going during the season. And I think there's different sciences going on now. You hear, Kirk Cinetti talk about it a ton last year, how short their practices are, how concise they are. And I think that's some things that we'll have the ability to do as we get into the season, just because, these guys have played so much, they've seen so much. Like, I think sometimes they get a little bit more out of walkthrough and talking and seeing something, pictures change in front of them, as opposed to just banging all the time and keeping these guys really healthy and playing fast on Saturdays.
You mentioned the referees a second ago.
A couple more
How
after
important is it
this,
for
we'll
you
get to players.
set the tone when things aren't going well, when you face adversity? How important is you for a coach to set the tone for the team with your emotions, with your attitude?
Yeah, I say this all the time. It's really easy to lead when you're winning, and I think everybody's having fun and everybody's looking at you the same way. And so I think what's really difficult and hard is to lead when things aren't going well and when adversity does hit. And so I like to get in front of it. We actually had a team meeting a couple of days ago, and that's what we talked about and addressed, is like everything's been so peachy and positive and so many good responses, and everybody's like kumbaya right now about what's going on at Oklahoma State. And like, football's such a physical game, and all changes, when somebody hits you in the mouth. And so I think just a forewarning to our guys, like, hey, like, we're gonna have things pop up. There's gonna be adversity that comes in every single game. We're gonna go into situations that don't go our way. Like, how we respond to all this stuff is gonna be key. And so really that's one of the things I'm looking forward to playing somebody else is really to figure out where we are, what we're good at, what we can hang our hat on, and then also as a coach, what we did poorly, what we're going to do poorly, and how we start fixing all those problems that arise during the course of the game.
You recruited Oklahoma before, obviously, but it's a different thing when you're here in the state and wanting to build those relationships with coaches around the state. How has that process gone, and what do you see out of that in the future?
I think it's been good. I think just like anything else, like, communication's key, and I think for us to not only be out there and be seen and be visible in these high schools for the kids to see us, the coaches, like, start building those relationships. Pick up the phone is an easy thing to talk about prospects. Really recruit these guys really hard, and I think, but recruiting's changed. I think everybody needs to remember that. Sometimes I see headlines right now that, this guy was an amazing recruiter. Well, there's like a big financial piece in this now where, we see it firsthand. There's a guy committed somewhere for, months and months and have a great relationship, and all of a sudden he gets paid more money somewhere else and flips at the drop of a hat. So there's more that goes into it, but I think not getting frustrated with those situations, communicate, be honest with these coaches, and I think we've had a really, really good response from the in-state coaches.
What
What
are your thoughts on pro players coming back to the college level? I know some conferences are coming out today saying they don't want it to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just one of those things. Like, what are we doing right now? It's just one more thing we're putting on the list, and that quite frankly, we don't have time to deal with and figure out what the rules are and what's going on. It's just, I mean, at some point, I think there's got to be some integrity in this game. There has been forever. That goes along with sports in general and playing these, and we've taught this from the youth sports up. Like I mean, if a guy's competing for a professional job right now in the sport, like, he should have left college in the back mirror at that point. So
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. We got players.
Thanks, Eric.